Hi guys, welcome to XConvos. This is our first episode. My name is Jerusha and my co-host is
Alyssa. I'm so excited to be here with you guys right now, and I'm so excited for you guys to follow us on our journey.
Yes, we definitely have a really good topic today. Just talking on worth and just basically giving you guys a visual on that because I know as a creator and as an entrepreneur, sometimes we need to kind of see to kind of believe where we are at, the gravity of where we are in our development through the process. And so today in this episode, we'll be focusing obviously on the worth. And this stems from our belief system and our inner blocks from childhood. And that dictates what may be deemed worthless, worthwhile, and equate to being worthy, which I feel like we all can attest to feeling that at some point. For you, Alyssa, did you ever feel like you were kind of like teetering in your last couple projects of like, is this worthwhile? Am I taking too much of a risk? Is this worthless? This is junk. Do you delete stuff that we don't even get to actually view?
Yeah, so like as a little bit of a backstory to everyone here, I am a photographer and I've been doing photography for about like 6 years now. I'm specializing in beauty and fashion. So I think like there are definitely projects that I've where not that they've been worthless because I feel like everything, is art. And like, even if I don't love it right away, I'll like come back to like a couple months later and love it again for some reason.
Yes.
But I think for me, a lot of my like feeling unworthy stemmed from like childhood and like things that people like would say to me and feeling this pressure in the industry to overwork myself. And that's like how I related my worth. So like if I wasn't having mental breakdowns and being so busy 7 days a week, 40 like hours a day, then like I wasn't working hard enough and then I felt worthless in that. So I think finding that balance between how much do you work, what projects do you work on, and being able to say no to things because you don't have to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
It's all like a learning curve. But yeah, I think once you get past the point of you don't have to overwork yourself to the point of having mental breakdowns every single day to be worthy. I think it all like your creativity flows a lot more, your inner self flows a lot more, and I think I felt way more grounded. And so now I would say I have a lot less projects that I don't like, and I am very particular on the projects that I do work on, and I make sure that if I am working on a project, I try to plan out weeks ahead. Like a lot of different details so that like I make sure. You have
your own like system. Like you are a woman that you would have thought she had a whole team. She literally has like a breakdown. She'd be like, I have a schedule for this post and everything. And I admire that because I am developing that skill right now. And I think it comes from being such an artist and like I'm on the platform. I'm experiencing it. But then you're equivalent, I guess approach. So your equivalent of an approach that is just kind of abstract comes to your conclusion of having things that are sporadic and abstract. And so a lot of like my end games were like, oh, that was a surprise. Rather than it was like, oh yeah, this makes sense. This makes sense. Like I worked towards this. So of course it would equate to that. I feel like a lot of times we look at small things and we like blow it out of proportion and we're like, I can't do it. I just don't have the effort to doing it. Like, I'm not like one of those people who are the 9 to 5. I'm not one of those people who could, look at all those videos. I'm not one of those people who could, sit down for 16 hours and trade and all these little like, I perceive I'm not that person. So then when we are approached to, I kind of have to do this. Like I have to do a little bit of the marketing and I got to do a little bit of the business as a creator. We still have those kind of beliefs deep down. And I just feel like, did you have any of those belief systems that, like I know I did where I was like, I don't know if I'm capable of marketing. So like, is somebody going to save me?
I think it's definitely like you have to, and it takes a lot of practice in my opinion to find that balance. I mean, I'm a Libra, you're Libra rising. So we have Libras in us, so you find balance in us. But guys. I think like over the years, I definitely had to kind of find a balance of like, okay, I am this and I need to achieve that. But see, I love how you're a bit more like creatively and you flow and you take each day. Whereas I'm a bit more structured. So I think it's trying to find that healthy balance of like, okay, I need to be structured. I need to plan this post or I need to do whatever it is. But also like letting my my creative freedom just flow and letting my day just take me wherever like it's kind of meant to be.
Yeah.
And then I think over time, I mean, we're in the day and age of like the most amazing things, social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, like everything.
I know.
Clubhouse. You can connect with so many different types of people and learn so many different things. You can also go on YouTube and search up anything, marketing. So it's kind of like you can be your own teacher as long as you have that like self-discipline.
Yeah.
To be able to do that. And a lot of people don't have that. And so I think if you want to do music and that's your true passion, then you'll find every way to figure it out no matter what it takes. For me, it's photography. I live and breathe photography. I live and breathe showing people the beauty that I see, that I want the world to see for them.
Exactly.
And so it's like I will do anything in my power to make sure that I'm getting those connections with those people, marketing my photography in the right way, meeting the right people, just so that I can reach a vaster amount of an audience and talk to, and even doing the podcast. Like,
I know,
I just
guys.
Talk.
This is just like, this is such a, refreshing, humbling experience because it actually forced you to just be like, this could be perfect. This could not be perfect. Yeah. I had expectations. Should I abandon these expectations? I think a lot of us tend to always attach ourselves to a persona, like this is going to get me through this project persona. Yeah. Where it's like, I look the part, I smell the part, I live, eat, breathe the part. And sometimes your greatest kind of like release and just kind of cutting edge uniqueness is when you are vulnerable and authentic. And like, what would be something like a project that you worked on? Because I know I definitely have a couple projects that I did not rate at all. I thought they were just like, this is, or even a video or something you put on social that took flight because you were more authentic, that you didn't really have an expectation.
Honestly, I feel like that's kind of a lot of my creative work that I've done. Just meeting different people and talking to them. And I think even when you first messaged me, I didn't have an expectation of, we just had an idea and we're like, we want to shoot together. Let's do this. And we both would just send each other inspiration back and forth in different colors and all this kind of stuff. And then one day we were like, let's just shoot. Like, let's just stop talking about it and just like do it. And we went in and we were kind of like, whatever happens. Let's try a couple different things. Let's see what we can create out of it. And in my opinion, I think we created some really insane images that I cannot wait to share.
I know, I'm excited.
And it's a part 1 to a part 2 that we have to finish. But I think we both went into that with no expectations and we spent like 7 hours shooting and it was just like a really fun, chill day, and we both walked away, I feel like, very happy from that. And now we're doing a podcast together.
I know. So, the key is to building your tribe. Like, your vibe attracts your tribe. And like, what's so funny? This is just a little insight that I had, like a little, inner dialogue during that shoot. I just was like, I want to be the bad bitch. I really do. So badly want to be the bad bitch, but I am... Can we say that on this radio station? No, just kidding. Should we bleep it out? No. I really want to be this bad bitch, but I haven't shot in a while. I felt like, during lockdown, I had really, the last shoot that I did was in last year, October, like in fall. And so actually, I think in summer, actually.
It's like 2019?
No, it was 2020. In August, and I did a shoot in summer, and it was beautiful. And I was trying to get into this kind of new body because I got a little bit more curvaceous. And then, this year got even more curvaceous. And I was just like, how do I pose? How do I feel? How do I be that bad bitch? And I think this comes down to, the pressures of images, things that we in society deem are beautiful, cutting edge, fashion forward, successful. I think we have a really bad, connotation around those healthy expectations. What is, the ideal body? What is the ideal model? And now we're moving into this new, season of different bodies, different, agencies adapting to new looks like Rihanna and stuff like that, that are making, models a little bit more, free to be who they are.
Totally. I think we're going into a world of being more authentic, and I think we can bring that whole statement back into feeling worthy. It's like, if you feel like you can't fit into the box that society is like putting in front of you,
I agree.
You can feel worthless. And so if you are a model and you're not a size 0, you can feel worthless, and people will make you feel worthless, and they'll say things to you. And I think it's like over time, at least when I was younger, people would say a lot of like hurtful things to me about my weight, or about that I couldn't, a lot of people, no one
Do you want
believed,
me to beat them up? I'll beat them up.
Please.
I'll beat them up, guys. Don't worry.
No, looking back, like people, even when it came to my career, I'm from a small town in Western Canada, and you know, not a lot of people leave. It's like you're born there, you live there, you stay there, you get married, you have kids, whatever. And I knew from a young age that was not what I wanted for myself. I've always been creative in many different ways. And so when I took the leap, I graduated early, and I took the leap to move across the country by myself. Everyone was like, don't go, you're going to regret this. This is going to be horrible. And it made me feel completely worthless, because I was like, but I want this so badly for myself. But like I had my mom saying no. I had my whole family being like, you're going to come back in a year. Like, this is going to be like a disappointment. You're leaving. And then at such a young age, I put this like jacket on myself of like feeling worthless. And then that's when my whole like overworking thing started, because I felt that I had to prove them wrong. So I started relating my worthfulness to how much I was doing and proving people wrong, which is not the right way to go about it. But for a long time, I would be working and going to school full time, 7 days a week, never stopped, would always be doing creatives, trying to just fill everything, to feel some type of way in myself and like in my soul that was almost like validation that I could just give myself, and letting myself just be free. And I think I've been here for 4 years now, and I think finally this year I've allowed myself to realize that like my work does not dictate my worthfulness. Is that a word?
I love this word.
I don't know.
Worthfulness, guys. Just want to let you know.
No, it's not a word.
It's a word coming near you.
It's the idea of like my work and how much I'm working does not mean that I'm worthy of something or unworthy of something.
Yes, Chica. You are so much more. And that's the thing is like, I was trying to tell people like our limitations, our expectations of ourselves, or whatever, somebody external from ourselves puts on us, we are from the get-go more than that, like completely more than that, more than your physical limitations, everything. And there's proven, statistics that people, achieve more when they're thriving in an environment that makes sense to themselves. So in alignment, and you knew that you need to remove yourself in order to grow. For sure. And I think it's very important to be aware of your settings, the rooms that you're in. And that brings us to this beautiful analogy that I came up with, but didn't, because I definitely took it from Steve Harvey. And it is this kind of picture of, having a closed door and facing it, and turning your perspective around and discovering the many rooms, the many doors down the hallway. Yeah. And I think I love this analogy because he says like your, great life is ahead of you. Mm-hmm. It's not behind you. It's ahead of you. And I think we tend to be like, no, but like if I work hard. But no, if this relationship, if he just sees me, maybe if I get a little bit more fit, no, people are going to love my sound, my music. I know people are going to resonate with this. And so I'm going to stay here at the closed door, and I'm going to prove, and I'm going to bang on this door until they let me in. And I mean, I have respect because that's determination, but determination without vision and discernment is just reckless, yes. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things where you end up, dictating your next 5 years, 10 years. You just dictate from just staying in that static place. And so I know this comes from, and this is diving a little bit deeper, is that when you don't want to give up and you put it in a wrong place because it's ego-based, there's a lot of course, traumas, childhood traumas. Yes. Is there an example in your life, and I'll give an example in my life in a second, but Alyssa, is there a time in your life that you flagged a childhood trauma, like a reaction to, either a job not panning out, whether it be even just kind of like an artistic thing that did not develop the way that you expected it, to develop? Yeah.
I think it's kind of to do with art and kind of not. My dad passed away when I was really young. Mm-hmm. And so I remember when he passed away, the first thing that I did was I ran. So I noticed when I was on my own here and I was kind of like in uncomfortable situations, whether that was like in my art or in like a group setting or whatever it was. If I was uncomfortable, I ran. And if I felt that like I would never let someone get like past a certain point, and I wouldn't allow myself to fully be who I am. And so I like,
I think everybody can relate to that.
Yeah.
We're all
so I think I ran for the longest time, and then I finally was like accepting of myself, and I realized what was going on. And I think it's a work in progress every single day. Like, I don't think that it happens overnight, but
it can't happen overnight. If you have this expectation that everything is going to happen overnight, then what ends up happening is your disappointment level reaches such a high that it's obviously going to be apparent that you might give up, or that you might do something drastic that isn't you. And so, I mean, for me, my childhood trauma is just very much like coming from a performance level of always being relevant. It hit home because I had friends notice this, or they would say things like, you know, you don't always have to be relevant all the time, or, you know, you don't always have to be happy all the time. And I never understood because it wasn't sinking in. They would just observe me, and I just was like, but I am a happy person. I smile all the time because I'm happy. And happiness, yes, is a choice, but there's things that we will not really deal with in the moment and give it its platform. We don't give it its, you know, moment just to kind of be like, hey, I'm feeling this. I don't feel enough. I don't, you know, feel significant. I don't feel, you know, and capable in a way that I've never been, you know, able to be accessible to it, you know, or I have an example, or I was born around, you know, people who, you know, have businesses and have, you know, awards and have traveled. Like, I grew up not in that environment. And so it's one of those things where if you don't see it, you can't become that likeness. Even though there's a potential inside you, you know, of something more, you still are going based off of what you've been born into. Yes. And I think there was a sense of me being a performative kind of person to draw people in and to keep people by my side, to be like, don't go, just help me or give me the answers, or hopefully I'll find a little piece of myself. Because I knew that there was more, but I couldn't see it in my initial upbringing. And I think it was just the best, you know, epiphany to suddenly decide last year when I launched my single body thoughts. I basically just said, let me restart. Let me not dictate everything based off of what I did in the past, what I had access to, what passed me by, what used me. Let me not have this performance of, you know, every time I meet somebody new in the industry, this kind of sense of I had all these accomplishments, so I have X, Y years in the business, and so that dictates my worthiness to get the job or get the opportunity or you to work with me. I was like, the most brilliant thing was to say, I don't know, and let's find out, and you know, let's investigate this new challenge. And
when we first met, the thing that you always told me was, let's get curious every day.
Let's get curious.
And I like, when I first told me that, I was like, let's get curious. Okay. And then I think as the more I thought of it, it's true. Like people, I think, even myself sometimes, every new day that comes is like a new start. You know what I mean?
100%.
Like, you wake up, it's a new day, it's a new start. You have a new choice to be in whatever mindset you want. You have a choice to be happy or live
narratives.
in the past. But I think when you have anxiety, and not all the time, but I think a lot of anxiety stems from living too far in the future or living too far in the past and not being present enough. And when you can just ground yourself and be present and realize that, like, life is happening right in front of you, it's kind of like a beautiful thing to just, like, allow yourself to just get curious.
I know. And then just investigate. Let's see how it goes. I love that there's no sense of, you know, expectation. Like, when you show up and you don't have to be like, okay, this is how it's going to end. This is how it's going to, you know, play out. I also love that mainly most successful people always fail and they seek out failure.
Yeah.
And so this brings me to, and I just, do you want some matcha? Do you need a little,
I do need some matcha.
Matcha intake? We just get a little matcha intake for y'all before we dive in.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Talking is a full-time job, guys. It is.
Love it.
It's like the best thing to have. Okay. So of course we covered the sense of worth, the different types of, platforms of feeling worthless, what's worthwhile, and of course worthy. And then of course, giving that analogy about the doors. Thank you, Steve Harvey. We appreciate you. And what I really want to kind of segue into is, how do you unlock the many blocks? Those emotional blocks, those kind of habitual blocks. How do you unlock personally for you? What is your method?
Okay.
When you're going like insane and you're like, I'm having an episode and hair's falling out, hence why I have short hair. No, I'm just kidding. What is the kind of, I'm eliminating this so I can get to my end game?
Okay, that's like such a deep question and I love it. It's there's so many layers to it. So I think for me, I am very spiritual and I'm very now in tune with myself. And so I think I made the choice, 2 years ago, I would say, is when I feel like I really started like diving into spirituality and into myself. And I think for me, it just kind of became like a recognition of everything. So I feel like it would see myself running from situations. I began to understand, okay, I'm running, but why am I running? So I started asking myself these questions and allowing myself to just like flow with it. And if I ever was feeling sad, I would let myself kind of feel sad and be sad, understand why I'm feeling sad, but then let it go. So I never let it like fester for more than like that moment. And I think it's important to allow yourself to feel and allow yourself to understand that you have, people have childhood trauma. They have all different things built up. And I think you don't realize how much your upbringing and your parents and things that people said to you over the years actually stay with you for so long. Oh my God. And
trust.
I can't remember what podcast I was listening to, but someone said that we put on these jackets as kids and it's people telling us, negative things. It's like when you're a kid and you hear one negative thing and then it's like in your head and you believe that story for as long as you are. So I think for me, it was almost like unzipping those layers and those jackets and being like, what's really mine? Did someone else say that's like triggering me to think like this? Yeah. And every day I have triggers. Every day anybody's going to go through things, but I think it's recognizing it, feeling it, and then letting it go. Yeah. And just being conscious that every time that does come up again, if it does, I can be like, okay, but that stems from XY, and I'm going to move forward and be happy, and I choose to be positive, and I choose to be, love and light, and that's kind of the way that I look at it now. That. So if that makes any sense.
We are young, we are free. Look at us. It's amazing when people can like check in and be at like an early stage in their 20s, like we just and be like, hi, like I'm having a whole quarter life crisis. Wait a minute, I'm not even 25. But here is my solutions. I do similar things because spirituality is a very big thing, and I really truly believe that if you can't have conversations with your higher self, and if you can't meditate, if you can't do some form of fitness to get yourself out of this kind of static, and what I mean is everything comes with movement. Mm-hmm. It could be working out. It could be taking a step to writing that first page of the book. Yeah. It could be the first time you set yourself on, a pedestal and you're like, yeah, you know what? I am that girl. I'm going to go and take a photo shoot in the bathroom, selfie shoot. Yes. Like, you know what I mean? Getting into those kind of mindsets to bring forth happiness, bring forth new opportunities. And I just feel like for myself, my kind of concoction is a mixture of talking to myself, dancing, talking to the moon, having occasional wine drinking, and then realizing this reset button. Mm-hmm. I've grown very fond of it. It is a reset button that just tells you and dictates pretty much how the next chapter will be. Is just, okay, wonderful. When something happens, like I'll give an example, my mother and then my sisters called back to back, and it was like hysterical because there was a problem with the phones and they're going off and everything, and I'm like, I'm half asleep, and now this is bringing so much tension and all this stuff like that, and I felt like I couldn't help the issue, and so I felt like I was coming from just a weak point, and it started bringing me into this kind of like small place, and it's early on in the morning, so that means it's dictating, if I allowed it, your day, my day. Yes. And I felt so crappy afterwards. And I just was like, well, you're the conductor of this narrative. Do you want to kind of keep on reiterating or calling people that you know just to kind of regurgitate this scene that just took place, or do you want to sit here, meditate, check in, and let go, release, and just shift your focus? When I shift my focus, I'm telling you, I got into a busy day. I was like, I'm going to add on to me, because that's all I can do is add on to me. And I just started reading, learning, listening to music, doing some yoga, working out. And it just was like, people would think I was, operating off of, some steroids, protein powder, and matcha tea.
Literally. But you let it in, you felt it. You're like, okay, I'm feeling like this, but I'm gonna choose to let it go, and I'm gonna choose happiness.
I just want to let you guys know that my favorite matcha tea is piquetea.com, and I got a special code. It's my name, JERUSHAH, and we will be putting it in the comments so you guys can definitely take a little investigation and just, take in the new caffeine. I feel like that's the new. You're like a matcha lover.
I am.
So just to, get into it even further, guys, before we're going to be kind of wrapping it. Mm-hmm. Well, first, you must understand. So, of course, we got rid of these kind of like blocks slowly but surely, but sometimes they still linger. And we have our little method, the madness to it all, to kind of abandon them and let them go. And so you must understand the inner story of worth. And I think that's the through line for everything. If time was an illusion and you could create this experience you have on this ever-spinning planet amongst the stars and galaxy, why wouldn't you walk down the hallway to many doors and just, take that kind of offload the, toxic dumps that we get from the external world and focus and hone in and just kind of accept what might be my future? Because the future is definitely always happening. I always tell people what I just spoke about 5 seconds ago is the past, and now whatever I'm speaking right now is the future happening. So it's happening at the same time as your present and all at once. And I think that concept allows you to be a little bit more present with yourself and with your creations, guys, with your creations and with your relationships. So if you're having troubles with that, okay, if trouble kind of comprehending this analogy of the many doors, I just want you to know that you're probably thinking, why? Why? The big why. Like, why me? Why now? Why do I do the things that, I do? Why do I say the things that I say? Why did he leave? All this confusion. And like, it is the worst fogginess anybody can experience when they're like, it's not working. And I really don't have, there's a lot of blind spots in the mind, and I'm feeling all these emotions, and your brain just keeps on being freaking biased, and it's finding all the evidence of the why of like all that confusion. Like, well, it could be this, well, it could be that, and never really giving you a resolution to where you should go next. So if I was to break it down in this, if there was 3 doors, and you had one door named why, you had another door how, and the other door what would be some of the questions that you would ask yourself, Alyssa? So like if you had a why door right now, if you were in this panic mode of like, why am I, what are the like most recent questions that you've kind of challenged yourself about? What's the why for you right now?
I think the why would be, I was planning to move to LA pre-COVID.
Big one.
I had like my whole visa and everything set up. And then obviously when COVID hit, that no longer happened. So I think for me, I was really struggling with like, I had a plan for my life. I was going to go to LA and I was going to make a bunch of connections and blah, 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 live out my dream. And then that didn't happen. I was very stuck and sad because I was like, oh my God, like that's what I wanted. It's what I want for my life, blah, blah, blah. And so I kept asking myself every day, like, why didn't that happen? Why can't I be there? Why can't I just pick up and go now? Well, like, why does it seem like there's so many restrictions? Why do I feel like I'm not living my best life? But I think it kind of had to bring it in and be like, I truly believe that everything happens for a reason.
Hell yes,
and
it does.
Everything happens in divine timing, like when it's supposed to. So I didn't move to LA, but I've met a ton of amazing people still in Toronto. I've had a ton of amazing experiences over the past year that I'm very grateful for, every one of them, and I wouldn't have had them had I have moved to LA.
I love
So
this.
I think I just kind of changed my perspective of like, that wasn't meant for me at that time for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah.
And now, instead of maybe doing photography completely full-time, which I am, but like now I'm doing a podcast, which I've really always wanted to do. And maybe I wouldn't have done that.
Divine timing.
So everything happens for a reason. And that's why I kind of I just let everything flow. And I've kind of let go of expectations of like, if it's meant to happen, it will. And if it doesn't, it doesn't.
I love that. Yeah. My why was like, I had a breakup. First, I got a relationship in freaking COVID. And I was like, this is weird. I would have never experienced this on, I guess, other terms, because I just feel like I feel like the isolation and having the time, you can give that time. And then you're like, okay, I'll explore this route. But before I was like, I got no time. I'm so busy. I'm so determined. I'm not going to do this. I'm an independent woman.
You're traveling.
I'm traveling. And it was just kind of like a beautiful moment to kind of have someone in like my life and just to learn from, because it's like the closest thing you'll have as a mirror. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I see everything.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And it was a lot of inspiration, a lot of support. And then when it ended, it was like, why is this happening? Why is this happening after my birthday? And why am I feeling all these things? And I don't really deal with my feelings. I just work a lot.
Yes.
And I distract myself. And I was like, why don't I have things available to me to get busy, to channel my energy, to hide behind?
Yes.
And then I had to just kind of be like, well, it's happening for a reason, because that's the problem. That's what you keep on not addressing. You just keep on doing this busyness that you're not able to allow yourself to experience and listen to the emotions that are like children. They don't go away. They just get louder and louder. And I just was like, usually a breakdown means you're going through a breakthrough. And so I was like, why is this happening? I guess we'll just kind of have to keep on going every day through this till I figure it out. And it took time, but I was like very grateful. And I got to this very happy place where I was like, thank you so much for breaking my heart.
No, and like, look at you now.
Thank you so much for breaking. If you're listening to this right now, babes, thank you so much for dumping my ass. But also, I mean, that we mutually were dumping each other's ass, because I truly believe that was the moment that we probably got better. We got better. You have to, if you have more focus on yourself, you can, really focus on the things that you never resolved. And I just am so like grateful for it. And I think it opened up new windows for my music, for me to get closer to my community. And I love it. Which brings me to, we had a door of the how. How did this happen? Your new, just like everything of late, how? How is that going for you? Do you feel like it's going smoothly, coming from this place of high expectations of like, I'm supposed to go here, everything happens for a reason, but like, how does the overall, where your chapter is of everything, not just a move, not just photography, how do you think everything's working for you?
I'm the happiest I've been in my entire life, so I think it's going very well. It just kind of, to me, everything happens for a reason. And I think I've adopted this mindset, but truly not just like adopted it, but I'm living it, where even like you can break it down to like, you're driving on the highway and you have to get off at an exit, and that exit is somehow closed or whatever it is, so you go to the next one. Yeah. Well, what if you would have gotten in an accident if you would have gone that way? So I think it's just like everything happens for a reason, and like not to get yourself stressed out. And people are put in your life at different times for lessons. And I agree. Yeah, I'm just very happy, and I'm very happy to be during this next chapter with you and the podcast and everything.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Happy. I'm like, oh, if I could say the how, I'm like, I almost be like, how am I here? Like, I'm still here. Like, when I have moments where I'm like a little bit loony and I'm like losing it, and all I can think is like, but I'm still here. Like, how is that possible?
But even think like humans, like us, like living how we're living right now is like a 1 in like a 400 trillion chance or something like that.
Like, I was that sperm. I was that egg.
Why are we like living each day, A, to not the fullest possibility?
I agree.
But B, like, just do what, like, nothing matters, yet everything matters. Do you know what I mean?
So true.
Like, we're on a floating rock, so like, do whatever you want to do. Live your life to the best of your abilities. Like, be happy. Period. And if that means you want to go get wine drunk in a park, then go get wine drunk in a park. Like, I love my matcha and my Starbucks, so that's what I'm gonna do. So it's just like the little things in life.
Little things in life that make you grateful. That gratitude. Yes. That's really what it is. And then, of course, what is next? Like, if we could just have the what. This is like one piece of the chapter, but I know for you, it could be a personal thing. It could be like what you're trying to do personally besides this. What is that looking like for you?
Well, I feel like the podcast has a huge play in it because I feel like me talking, and as we go further into it, you know, we want to get you guys thinking about yourselves, getting you guys back into your bodies and being like asking questions that get you thinking. And who knows if that question can have a ripple effect to many other questions that you're going to ask yourself. So I think bringing myself back in, and, you know, I'm letting go of every expectation that I have for like my future, where if that means I get offered a job in the UK, then I get offered a job.
She gets a job
in
the UK.
New York, it's in New York. Wherever it is, I'm open to anything, and I'm not closing any doors. But I think the podcast is like a huge thing for me because I feel like I'm talking to my younger self. Oh, like if I was young and if I heard someone saying the things that I'm trying to say, I think I would have been a little more clear at a lot younger age.
I know. You know what I'm
I
would have been like, wow, that's a nice blazer.
And I would have stopped stressing about
that dashing blouse. Would have been like, wow, you look like such a like put together person.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that's exactly what you nailed it on the dot. It's just nice to see, even though we're right now very young still.
Yeah.
Just nice to be like, you know, if I was 14, if I was 16, what impact these words
totally
would have just completely allowed me to relax a little bit more.
And like, just even I used to stress about like exams or like people or friendships or whatever, and it's kind of like, just don't waste that energy on things that like, as someone once told me, don't waste 5 minutes on something that's not going to matter in 5 years.
So true.
And I heard that and I loved it and I've lived by it because it's so true. Like if a parking ticket is going to stress you, if it's not going to matter in 5 years, like whatever, just like move on with your day. But some people could let that ruin their day.
I know.
So it's like taking those small things and those small hiccups and whatever, and it's like, okay, it is what it is. I'm going to move on and just deal with it. Everything will flow to you when it's supposed to.
So you let go what doesn't serve you, which is a beautiful feeling. Trust me, we all love that feeling.
It is.
You walk away from the closed door and you find and discover in movement, obviously, the many possibilities. So when you realize that, you know, it is stemming from your belief system, because what we've talked throughout this whole podcast is just kind of the hookups, the things that really kind of the toxic dumps, the things that we really are just fixated in dictating what our narratives are. For sure. I just believe that obviously worth really dictates, you know, your self-worth, your network, and your net worth. So for you right now, just to kind of wrap it up in a sum, what are kind of like your, you know, now this is just like your takeaways from what we've discussed, just kind of what you've kind of examples of like what you feel has been worthwhile for you, worthless, or even just when it comes to just dictating what's, you know, making you feel right now worthy.
Yeah. So I think like definitely kind of taking back to like the whole like analogy of the hallway and the different doors. That's a huge, huge, huge thing. And I feel like every person should kind of live by that, because once a door has closed, the saying is another door will open. And another door is always open, whether it's a crack or it's all the way or it's halfway.
Exactly.
You have to, if it's a crack open or it's halfway open, then you have to go through it and like make it all the way and you know, live that section of your life or that chapter or whatever it is. Yep. And if that door closes, go to another one. I think that's a huge thing, and I definitely live by that, and I definitely love that. I think also just knowing that you don't have to work yourself completely to death in order to feel
worthy
of life. I think just taking off the jackets and realizing that what people say about you is their own opinions. And also a lot of times when people are judging you, it's a mirror reflection of something that they haven't dealt with within themselves.
I agree.
And so a lot of the times if people are judging you, they're also vibrationally 9 times out of 10 lower than you. Because no one that's higher than you or at the same level as you
misery loves company.
Exactly. They're going to try and bring you down. So if you can just remember that if you're at a certain point in a certain vibration and a certain level in your life and you have people trying to bring you down, then they're not people you want in your life, A. B,
I agree.
They're lower than you and they're just trying to bring you back down. So just keep vibrating high, keep following your dreams and whatever you believe in, because if you believe in something enough, it will happen. You'll manifest it, and it'll all kind of come to fruition. So
such a cute little like, woo, full circle. Yeah, full circle. No, for me, I definitely think like my takeaways is simply, for me, it was letting go, but building enough room for myself to feel like I can commit to something new.
Yeah.
Like a whole new chapter in my life, and be consistent with it. Because when you commit to something, a lot of times in our generation, we like to commit to something and we have this kind of like passion. Passion might light it, but it doesn't keep it.
Totally.
And so for me, I was like, I need purpose in everything I need to do. I need purpose. I need to fall in love with this new life and this new chapter and with myself, and have that be the kind of lasting relationship that I want to kind of be my legacy. And I would definitely say, you know, anything that was worthless was just kind of my old dusty narratives. Just the things that I just feel like I never really abandoned. And I think honestly trickled into things that were new. I would experience something new and it would just still be on the low hums of my life. And I just wish I was, you know, maybe a shitty person, that maybe people could be like, you're a really shitty person and you have all these bad qualities. But when you're a good person, you have shitty qualities too, sometimes yourself. Actually, most of the times to yourself. And so you end up not getting that kind of external, you know, opinion. You basically have yourself having to check yourself, being like, why are you so crappy to yourself? You always pick up everybody else, but when it comes to you, you're always leaving yourself.
It's like your shadow self just like pulling you
down. That's
down.
exactly it.
Yeah.
And I would definitely say, you know, I feel like that's the worthwhile experience is just simply being able to be grateful just to wake up.
The first thing I do when I wake up is 3 things that I'm automatically grateful for. Like, no question about it. Like, you got to just say 3 things you're grateful for.
Exactly.